In the 200,000 years humans have been here, we've made some pretty awesome stuff and got a pretty good idea of where everything is. Despite this, we still lose things. And I don't just mean your keys. So here are the 10 biggest things that have disappeared without a trace. The crew of the Mary Celeste. In December 1872, a British ship spotted a large vessel. It was floating over 1,000 miles off the coast of Portugal. Upon investigation, the ship turned out to be the 285-ton Mary Celeste. The 103-foot merchant vessel had departed from New York just days earlier on a voyage to Italy. The crew of at least 10 people are completely vamoosed. However, they had left all their belongings in the cabin. The last entry in the captain's diary was 11 days beforehand, and it didn't mention any trouble. There were no clues as to why the crew had vanished. They left enough supplies to last 6 months. The only unusual thing was one missing lifeboat. None of the crew was ever heard from again. The Roanoke Colony. In 1584, John White, the appointed head of the colony inhabiting Roanoke Island, set off on a short trip to England to fetch supplies. His return home was delayed because of a naval war between the English Navy and Spanish Armada. When White finally returned, it was 1590 and he hadn't seen his wife, daughter or the other 114 colonists since 6 years. However, when he arrived at camp, he found it completely abandoned and over 100 people had disappeared without a trace. The only possible clue was the word Croatoa carved into a nearby oak tree. Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart is one of the most famous and inspiring women of the 20th century. She pushed the boundaries of what was possible and became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean on her own. However, she is also famous for a mysterious demise. In 1937, she set off in a Lockheed Model 10 Electra with her navigator, Fred Noonan, on the second attempt at the record-setting flight to circumnavigate the globe. She was last seen leaving Layer Field on the second from last leg of her journey towards Howland Island. It is not known what caused her to crash, but it is believed to have been an error with the navigation. Earhart's last known transmission was at 8:43 a.m. on July 2, 1937. She was legally declared dead in absentia on July 5, 1939, aged 41. Neither her, Noonan or her plane were ever seen again. MH370. 2014 was one of the worst years on record for Malaysian Airlines. On July 17th, MH17 was shot down over Ukraine, killing 298 people. However, the more famous Malaysian Airlines incident occurred 4 months earlier on March 8th, when Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 vanished. The $261.5 million Boeing 777 took off on a routine flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The plane left the runway at 35 minutes past midnight with 239 people on board. Less than 1 hour after takeoff, the plane left Malaysian airspace over the South China Sea, but never transitioned into Vietnamese airspace. A huge multinational recovery effort was launched in the South China Sea. The search effort took an unexpected turn when Inmarsat's satellite data showed the plane turned west, then south, and flew for several hours towards Western Australia. The last communication was at 8:19 a.m. over the South China Sea. 7 hours and 44 minutes after takeoff, it is believed the plane ran out of fuel. Over 2 years after the event, the accident remains unsolved, and neither the wreckage nor the victims have been found. The only remnant of the plane was a flaperon found off the coast of Madagascar. All 239 people are presumed dead. Flight 19. Flight 19 was not a single plane, but a squadron of 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared on December 5, 1945, just after World War II had finished. Flight 19 was a training flight over the Bermuda Triangle that took off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station in Florida for an open water navigation training flight, with a total of 14 crew members aboard. Radio transmissions between the aircraft shows rising confusion over their course and heading. The planes inexplicably disappeared over 200 miles off course. The tale takes an unexpected turn because the Martin PBM Mariner sent out into the Bermuda Triangle later that evening to search for Flight 19, with 13 crew members aboard, exploded in mid-air at 7:30 p.m. On December 5, 1945, the Bermuda Triangle claimed 27 more lives. USS Cyclops. The USS Cyclops was a Navy vessel during the First World War that was built specifically to carry large loads. On 4th of March 1918, the ship set out to sea after an unscheduled stop at Barbados on the way to Baltimore. The 165-metre vessel was overloaded with 11,000 tons of manganese ore. Cyclops' path took it through the infamous Bermuda Triangle, and even to this day, it remains the largest single loss of the US Navy and the largest known victim of the Bermuda Triangle, with 306 crew and passengers presumed dead. The lost city of Z in the rainforests of Brazil was a remote city cut off from civilization. Known as the City of Z, official documentation in the National Library of Rio de Janeiro describes the city in great detail. Supposedly a vibrant and beautiful city, the only thing the manuscript does not describe is the location, and still to this day nobody knows where it is, or even whether it really existed. Jamaican Beach. In July 2008, police in Jamaica received an unusual phone call. A section of beach had vanished. Police believe the 500 truckloads of sand was stolen by an organised gang of thieves. In a developing country like Jamaica, the price of building supplies such as sand is very high. It is probable the sand was sold on to local merchants. The 400 metres of beach did just disappear. Boeing 727. The Boeing 727 is one of the world's first and best-selling jetliners. But did you know one of the $22 million jets was stolen in 2003? And despite all the sophisticated radar we have, it was never seen again. The plane used to belong to American Airlines until it was sold to a Miami-based airplane leasing company. At the time of the incident, the plane had been leased to TAG Angola Airlines and had accumulated $4 million in fees just sitting idle at the airport in Angola, when two men, believed to be mechanics, boarded the plane. It was last seen taxiing across the airport and taking off without permission. Despite a worldwide search by the CIA and FBI, it was never found again. 2 oil tankers. In 2008, Somali pirates stole a gigantic fully loaded oil tanker from an oil field in Ghana. The ship was being guarded by the Nigerian army, who seemingly didn't notice when pirates boarded the 300,000-ton ship and floated off into the sunset, never to be seen again. In case that wasn't bad enough, the same year 2 other tankers were stolen with 4.1 million barrels worth of oil, and only one was returned to its owner.